Hi Samima.
Hey Hora.
Hi everyone. Welcome back to episode 20th of Philosophers in the Therapy Room. And I guess I'm hoping that many of you had a chance to check on the special episode that we have recorded for the celebration of World Philosophy Day. And I'm hoping that our today's discussion around authenticity might be useful and interesting for you, because somehow we are trying to somehow unsettle the waters of
Definitely.
the current discussions around self-identification, self-expression, authenticity. That I guess it's a main problem, and it's a main focus of many psychologists, many therapy sessions. I guess at the end of the day, anyone who seeks therapy, somehow they end up questioning, what does it mean to be authentic? It becomes a kind of a value that everyone's looking for. So we are trying to establish a completely existential phenomenological attitude toward the concept of authenticity in this episode. And it might be a very, very different from whatever is being discussed through psychology, especially psychology and positive psychology. So what does it mean to be authentic self? How to be authentic? If you can become authentic, then you're healed. You're healed. You're out of the pressure or the framework of the pressing framework of society and culture and religion and whatever is really bound your everyday interaction, and it's mapped out your life from the very beginning till the end. But somehow we are trying to question this attitude and saying that maybe that's not the case. And we try to reestablish a new relation to the concept of authenticity.
And I want to add that maybe to some extent I would say, and we might be able to look into it at the end of the episode, is maybe they are not actually totally in a different place from what we are going to discuss. However, what they don't do is identify what authenticity is. They just want to claim the end result without the process, because what we would discuss is to show that authenticity is a process, not an end goal. And what they try to do is somehow replicate it as if it's the end goal. And getting rid of the process. And if you get rid of the process, we say that trust the process. The whole idea of authenticity is in the process. And if you try to mimic what authenticity might look like without the process, then you're losing.
The whole point is authenticity is lost. Because the very claim of philosophy is that authenticity is not the end result.
And I think that's what quite often people jump to, the end result, without understanding. And we can maybe get there a little bit in the end.
Hopefully. I mean, you know that we start from somewhere, we end up somewhere else.
It's an organic process.
So I think we trust this process. I guess we are here on the recording the 20th session because we trusted the process. So let's think about how authenticity can be understood in a process, and process of what? What is it that we call it is in a process? And is it a characteristics of a process, or it's a methodology of doing something? So let's dig into it. So Samima, let's get on with the question of authenticity. I guess we're going to start from an existential perspective.
I think that's a good place to start.
So you want to start with Sartre or Beauvoir?
I think I'll switch between both. I think first we can just say a little bit, when we, especially that's what we do with our students, we ask them that, what do you think about authenticity? And most of the time what people think about authenticity is basically doing whatever they want to do. And whenever you are forced because, how others are expecting you to behave, or how, society wants you to act, or how your mom wants you to act, you're being inauthentic. Or if you're afraid to show your true self. So we often, in common everyday life, we take authenticity to be just showing whatever you want to do.
It's more like a desired.
Exactly. And at times, like, that's another thing, another tangent, I don't want to jump in there. We often don't have one thing in mind. We generally are divided. So, but we're not going there. But what we want to think here is what exactly we mean by existential philosophy when they talk about authenticity. Because, of course, on one point, the general idea of authenticity is correct, that it is about action and what we do and with what we put out there, and how much aligned it is with our values, what we want to do. So authenticity is definitely about congruence and alignment. So that point is definitely there. However, it's not just this blank idea about this is what I want to do. So we are not asking everyone to become a toddler, a 2-year-old who does whatever they wish to do, because that would be a chaotic world. So that's definitely not what authenticity is as per existentialism. So I will kind of switch between Sartre and Beauvoir, but I'll begin with Beauvoir. So Beauvoir talks about, this freedom of choice and how crippling it is. And the whole question of authenticity is basically at this point, the freedom of choice. And it is so crippling. And the reason it is crippling is because when we make a choice, we need to own it. And by
took the responsibility.
You are accountable for it, you're responsible for it, and that's where we find it really quite anxiety inducing. That, if for example I choose to be this or that, I mean, we often talk about really big moments of our life, but we can go to the small moments as well. If I go and buy something, I read reviews, I ask a friend, what do you think about the product? And in the end, I usually, as a mature person, I decide that, okay, all of these things gave me a view, but in the end, I decided to choose this product. And then if it is a risk, the product might be according to my needs or not. Now, a very responsible person, if the product is not as per your taste or choice, would in the end say that, I got the reviews, but it was not up to my taste or choice, and so I didn't like it. So it wasn't a thing for me. And they would just not blame anyone, but an immature person would say, you are the friend who suggested me, it was awful. So that's where we are deflecting responsibility, because taking responsibility is a lot of...
It's part of that choosing process.
Exactly. And it doesn't mean that I don't ask, I don't go to people for advice, I don't read, I do all of that, but in the end I still know that this leap from this position to making the choice is mine. No one else was involved. I chose from here to there. Everything gave me a suggestion. It created an environment for me, but I took that leap. Now, Beauvoir says that people find this really challenging. So she describes different attitudes that people take when they are making choices. And she calls them and of course, it's not about one person is one thing all the time. Always remember that we are looking at traits and people switch between these things. So she calls the lowest on the scale is a subman, and she's writing before the more gender aware writing style, so everything is in the language of man here, so I apologize for that. But she calls them a subman, and she says that subman actually kind of stops their thinking 100%. What they do is they follow the trend. They follow whatever is happening. They are the one, that is the mob. Whenever you see a lynching or any kind of let's go there. So they are the easiest to rile up. They are easiest to persuade. You just give them either greed can be, fear can be something that can. So just think about totalitarianism. Totalitarianism works on subman because it's so easy to persuade them. They have given up thinking altogether. they follow whatever is the most sparkling, whatever is the most appealing, charismatic person around them, and they just follow them.
Selma, I guess if we want to, again, for the subman, not only the decision-making process is malfunctioning, because actually they totally paused on decision-making. They suspend the decision-making at all. They suspended their practicing of their freedom. I mean, and then, for example, Arendt says they're not even free, because unless you practice your freedom, it's not something that you have it, you untouched it.
Exactly.
No, freedom, it's like freedom comes to being by practicing.
Yeah, exactly.
So they're not free at all.
Yeah, exactly.
It is not a free being.
Exactly. It looks like they're making the choice. In a way, they're making the choice, but because they have no capacity, no effort put into thinking about what do I want to do, they are the worst off, and they are in a way not actually free. They just behave in whatever is trending.
And then this means that they not only taking any decisions, so they're not having any responsibility toward the consequences, but in relation to consequence. So how they react in terms of the consequence? So are they blaming someone, or what is the
So for them, I mean, in reality, they are responsible.
But how is the reaction? How does that man react?
It's not my responsibility. X said we should do this. So, so it is basically just think about
deflecting the responsibility.
So like, for example, when we think about, for example, the German people, how they took responsibility after the World War, that's a sign of, coming out of the subman thinking to an authentic person that we played a role. But if you are, after such a genocide, you're saying, oh, Hitler asked us to do that.
That is a subman. That
you're still a subman. You still didn't think about your actions and their consequences. And we see a lot of people just keep deflecting responsibility all their life on other people. So that's the worst person in terms of aiming and claiming their freedom. The next one is serious man, what Beauvoir calls, and it is more like this person, again, they find taking decision a little bit hard, so they go and attach themselves to a certain ideology. It could be a religion, it could be some kind of an anti-religion, scientific spirit, science is my religion. It could be Marxism, it could be anything. So when you attach yourself to any ideology, what you again do, maybe you begin with a little bit of thinking and reading, and then you
chose that.
You chose that, but once you reach there, you suspend your thinking. Now I've reached my goal. So it becomes a profit for you. You stop thinking about your role at all. This will take me to salvation. Now I don't have any responsibility to think. My religion tells me to do this, and I do this. So now the responsibility is with the religion. I don't own any responsibility.
Again, here is the deflection of the responsibility.
Exactly. But in reality, Beauvoir says that if you feel that God wants me to help the poor, it's you who is interpreting, I see a poor person, I see kindness within me, I should feed this poor person. That's your step-by-step process. You are interpreting what God wants from me. You have no direct way of knowing what God wants from you. So ultimately, the serious man actually, again, what he does or she does is that they get rid of that responsibility part by first doing some thinking and then attaching to one of the values. Next, she talks about two other attitudes which are close to authenticity but miss on one point. One is the adventurer, the other one is the passionate man. So she talks about the adventurer because the person who wants to, just live the life. It could be adventurer in the sense of, climbing the mountains, or an actor who just wants to live a lot of different emotions and values and explore the world. And she talks about that the adventurer actually has a zeal for life. They want to explore life, and they know that nothing on its own is valuable. There's no way to say that mountain climbing is more important than, refurnishing your furniture, old furniture. They know that there's no objective way, because all the other people are trying for someone to be objectively saying, do this, this is the best
so
thing.
there is an objective value in the last two.
Exactly. So you believe that this is what I should be doing. The adventurer knows that there's no should. I decide that I like mountain climbing. It's adventurous, it's interesting, it's fun, and I do it. And I own it that this is my choice. I like doing it, not because, National Geographic calls it the best thing in the world. I really find it exhilarating, fulfills me, and that's great.
So they impulsively relate to what they feel or what they experience within the process.
Exactly.
So it's a 101 kind of a reaction to how do I feel myself, or how do I find myself in doing that.
Exactly.
There's no objective value. I'm not responding to anything.
Yeah.
And the moment that you don't have any objective value in that sense, comparing to the last two, there is no taking responsibility. And if it's a responsibility toward how do I feel. I might not feel, I might damage myself.
Yeah, and that's me.
That's me.
I decided.
Take responsibility.
I decided that this is what I want to do. People told me it's a very dangerous place.
Yeah.
But I wanted to explore it. I wanted to see it. I was driven by
I own it.
And I own it. So that's the adventurous attitude. But Beauvoir says that it fails because what it misses is the other people.
Yeah.
You can never become oblivious or indifferent to other people because they are your world. So she says that what we need to find out is between that one extreme where we put all the responsibility on other people because it's my leader, it's my prophet who is responsible, or my group, to the other end of the adventurer. I don't care what people think about me. I don't care what people find important. And she says that adventurer actually thinks, but then they come back and write books about it. Why are you writing a book? You're connecting to other people.
Yes, because you need
you post your pictures. Why? You want their approval in some way. So she says it seems like that they don't need other people, but they do.
Yeah.
They have their own sub-communities. So she says that's also a failed attitude, better than these two, but it does not recognize that my freedom takes shape, my responsibility takes shape with the other people around me.
Yeah, so they somehow individuate the responsibility, the concept of responsibility, although they
and
belong,
the choice as well.
Exactly. So although they belong to a community, doesn't matter what.
Yeah.
What community, sub-community, how big it is, doesn't matter. When they take the responsibility, they see themselves as an isolated island.
Exactly.
And they take the responsibility toward themselves, not the community that they belong.
Exactly. And they totally lose the point of their connection to other human beings. On the other end is a passionate man, and she takes the passionate man as the man who, for example, is in love with this woman. And she says that this person just throws themselves into this love affair with the craziness and passion that there's nothing more important than this thing. It is a connection to another human being. All their passion is for a person. And they know that this person is not somehow divine on its own. They acknowledge that it's my passion that makes them the most important thing in the world. But the problem with them is that they somehow lose the rest of humanity. It's again a very problematic attitude because somehow everything is focused on one person or one thing and not reflective enough to see how I sit within the web of connections and everything else around me. So all of these attitudes lack the level of, the element of authenticity. So what Beauvoir would say is that the authentic person has the adventurous zeal. That whatever you do with passion, you do with knowing that I decide this thing to be the important thing. However, you are still aware of the world in which you are acting. First of all, I didn't choose that mountain climbing is the most important thing or philosophy, teaching philosophy is the most important thing. It's the web around me that gave me this. It's not one thing, a lot of things came up. I chose this one. I found this one appealed to me. So there are others who have done it before me, others who are doing it right now, and they made it important enough for me to engage. And then I want them to accept me. So when we write, when we teach, when we speak, we want people to listen to us.
There is always a response. I think this is also existential phenomenological grounding in that you're always constantly responding to something, that's constantly, it's the only thing.
You don't ever have a primary action.
Exactly.
Every action is a reaction.
Exactly.
And opening up more for future reactions.
Exactly.
So you don't have...
So I guess, Emma, there are very, very important things here, because I'm constantly seeing in lots of psychological interviews or programs or events that saying that as a psychologist, as a psychotherapist, you should not believe in freedom. You know that there is no freedom. This is constant, Selma.
Okay.
It's very interesting for me. And I guess when we started talking about freedom, I just wanted to talk about what freedom means here, because we ask constantly from our students, what do you think that freedom is? And the response that we receive, normally is whatever you want to do. There is no inhibition in doing that. That's not the case at all. I mean,
no.
Freedom philosophically doesn't mean that you have the freedom. You have the room. You have the possibility of doing whatever you desire.
Like. Yeah, exactly.
Because there is nothing either in desiring or in making that desire to a reality is groundless, is situationless, it's ahistorical.
Yeah.
Whatever comes to being in relation to a human being is historical, contextual, something, or grounded in something.
Exactly. It is determined.
It is determined. And in that sense, within that determining context and situation, still you have the freedom.
Yeah.
How to respond to that deterministic movement or pressure.
That's where,
So it's very, very important, I guess, to recognize that we're not talking about freedom in terms of freedom of your neural pathways, freedom of your genetic makeup, freedom of your trauma history. That's not the case.
You can't just throw everything in the bin and start fresh. No.
Exactly.
You will be responding
to all of that situatedness and context, your trauma, your genetic makeup, your racial actual groundedness, your limitations, your resources. Within that situatedness, you have a moment of freedom.
Exactly.
Perspective taking, trying to see how would I be able to respond to that situatedness. And this is what existential philosophy calls freedom.
Exactly. Situated freedom.
Exactly. Freedom.
We never talk about freedom as if you have this immensity of choices.
Exactly.
In fact, we often say that you don't have freedom of options. So options are chosen.
Exactly.
You have a freedom of choice in terms of how to respond.
Yeah.
But you can't choose that this is what I want to be. Maybe with enough changes you can create new choices for you.
Yeah.
But in a given moment the choices are already sort of determined for you. And you respond to them in a particular way.
I want to use the language of physics here, and that's the degree of freedom. At the end of the day, you can play with the degrees of freedom.
Exactly.
But not the whole concept of freedom of the context.
Yeah, exactly.
We are not initiators, we are only respondents. We are beings that constantly are responding to the allure. This is a totally phenomenological term, to the allure of the existence. We are constantly responding, and why I respond to a philosophical allure more than a beauty or allure. Again, it is related to my past, to my history, to my history, to my cultural groundings. So it's very tricky to understand freedom in that sense.
Yeah.
But we normally forget that within that contextual grounding that we are actually grounded in a context. We are still we should take responsibility in response to our actions and choices.
Yeah, exactly. So it is coming back to that idea that you don't have the possibility of choosing whatever you want. However, you have the possibility of responding to the situation and then choosing from within the limited possibilities. And that's where the authenticity is basically acknowledging and knowing that this was what was given to me. So again, it would be inauthentic to think that I could have done whatever I want to.
Yeah.
That's equally inauthentic.
Yeah.
So authenticity is knowing that this is what the situation was and these are the choices. You know, I mean, even for other people, like when people put too much responsibility on the leader, you should have delivered this, like when we expect a lot from our governments. Not saying that they are doing a great job, but they cannot fix the economy, they cannot fix everything in one term. So like when people think that, you know, everything should be fixed in a term, that's also inauthentic, you know. So you are part of this democratic process and you should know that you can't just, you know, select a ballot and then leave responsibility and expect someone, a group of people, to fix all your problems. That's equally irresponsible.
Because you're constantly contributing to that problem.
Exactly.
As long as you don't change anything, you're contributing to the existence and maintenance of that problem.
Yeah.
So I guess the whole idea here is you need to take responsibility for the action, even if you chose that person to be the head of a group, to make choices. If they make a wrong choice, you are actually equally responsible because you put that person.
And then you question, how do you respond to that? How do you participate in that process is the next step towards that. So so definitely when we come back to the idea of authenticity, it's about making choices and owning responsibility. And that's where I think we can also bring Sartre again. Like, what do we mean by making choices, owning responsibility? What does it mean in terms, especially when we talk about living in this world, how we respond to the things around us? And Sartre's very famous example, and which is again going back to the French culture, as we were saying, that you know, you're always writing, reading, working in your own culture. So being a waiter is an interesting position because we don't think about waiters so much, but in French culture it is one of the, you know, it is not a, you know, educated job, so it is sort of a service industry, yet it has a lot of prestige because it does require you to have patience, understand your you know, customer, and then serve them with humility but also with self-respect. So it is a very particular kind of behavior which, you know, in our culture we don't get it. So I was often you know, concerned, why does Sartre brings the waiter, and Michelle, our lovely you know, lecturer and teacher, she discussed how culturally a waiter has a very particular kind of stance in the French culture. And so Sartre talks about, you know, this person who is new to waiting tables and they want to know what it means to be an authentic waiter. So now imagine that, you know, when you go to any new job, you do want to perform. I want to be like a professional counselor. I want to act like a professional lecturer. And what Sartre is saying is that the moment you try to do that, the moment you try to figure out what an authentic lecturer, waiter would do, and you try to mimic the movement, and Sartre gives very clear description, see how he stands, how he runs, and how he's carrying everything. So he has the role of waiter in his head, and he is performing. So it's a performance where he's trying to think about how a waiter should perform, instead of thinking about, there's this person who needs a tea and a coffee, and I need to serve them in a way that is respectful, efficient, and does serve my dignity, but also gives them a good service. So the end result, the action was going to be probably exactly the same. The difference is in the attitude. The second person is actually thinking about the action. he is a person who has ordered a coffee from me. I'm a person who works this job. It's my responsibility to bring them coffee. I want to do it in a way that, that is respectful, that is efficient, but I'm also responsible if someone has placed the order first. I need to make sure that I attend to them. I don't bump into someone. So all of those things are there, and that person is responding to that situation, keeping in mind what they want to do, because that's your action. My action is to serve coffee. But the inauthentic waiter is trying to fit himself in the mold of a waiter, and not think about what kind of relationship I have with this person. That is a client who expects a service from me. No, it's all about being the waiter. Now you're just trying to fit into that role, and that's why it is inauthentic, because you are not at all connecting with the other person, the role you need to play in society, why you are doing it, what are the consequences, what might be some of the conflicts. And then there's no possibility of improving either, because the first person will just think about, okay, I was 99% close to that ideal waiter. The other person will feel like, no, I could be better by maybe bringing 2 cups because the other table was waiting for a while. So this one is responding to people around them, and that's why they are living.
Saima, when by listening to it, I just try to understand.
You got goosebumps.
I'm trying to see if I want to put it into a formula.
Okay.
What does authenticity mean?
Let's be a bit scientific.
Yeah. No, even a phenomenologist put it in a formula.
Yeah, I know you have a science background.
So it's
I'm not a formula person, but go for it.
That's the thing. So what I'm trying to abstract from the story, that what does it mean? And if I want to be an authentic person, who I am going to respond to, because it's all about responding. If in what way in my responses I become an authentic responder. One position as a self, as a waitress, I see myself responding to the desire of occupying this position. Another side is responding to the profession.
I'm part of a profession.
I'm part of the profession.
Definitely.
I just want to attend to the professional guidelines.
Definitely.
How to be professional waitress. The other one is the client. So look, we have 3 sides. I am actually going to respond to different or 3 parties here. I'm responding to 3 parties here: the client, the profession, and me. The person, the waitress or the waiter, who is constantly trying to be exactly as the role model of
as the waiter should be.
A waitress should be, or a waitress should be, is only responding to one. The person who's thinking about, okay, maybe I can do 2 coffees in my hand because the next order is ready and I can serve 2 people at the same time, is responding to the client and to the self themselves, plus the role model profession.
Exactly. What the profession expects from me.
Exactly. So authenticity means trying to find the alternative, not in terms of the alternative in response to the profession, but a third pathway. That is in Hegelian terms a dialectic. That is a dialectical behavior. I mean, authenticity means constantly be in a dialectical behavior, dialectical relationship to the world. Professional pathway gave me one solution. My desire to be a waitress, one of the factors. Responding to the client in a respectful, compassionate, welcoming manner is another thing that I need to take into account. And all of that, I need to find another balanced way to address all of these 3 at the same time.
In the same moment, in the same choice.
And because this self constantly is changing. Me is different from you, different from another guy, different from my kid, because this self constantly changes. Yes, the professional mannerism will not change because it's a profession, it's a role model.
But
the client also is changing constantly.
Constantly changing.
Every 5 minutes, they might feel even differently.
Exactly.
Not even
the
different
same
person.
client has different needs at different moments.
So you cannot really ask for professional mannerism to give all of the solutions how to act if you're constantly asking for the society, even your professional guidelines. I see that I can see them in my students. And because they are in health profession, it's very tricky for them.
They want very rigid.
Exactly.
What's the rubric?
Exactly.
It's there, but
you need to find your way, responding to the rubric. But where is your freedom? But where is you? I want to see you responding to the rubric and the knowledge that you got. So I'm constantly inviting you to be you in response to these different factors that are involved in your life. This is authenticity.
Exactly.
So if I want to give a formula is trying to find who are you responding. And normally we miss a lot.
That's the point of authenticity, is that acknowledging that I will not be able to pay attention to everything.
Exactly.
So it's not about knowing everything and being aware of all the consequences of our actions and having that kind of omniscient kind of understanding.
Yes.
We do not have that capacity, and at the same time also knowing that there's no perfect choice. It is also an equal part of authenticity, acknowledging that no choice is going to be a perfect choice. Whether we are talking about moral situation, whether even you're talking about monetarily or in any ways, whatever choices you're making, they will bring some pros and cons, some positives and negatives. What you are doing as an authentic person in making the choice in that moment is assessing what are all these factors. You assess your values. So I think what people get stuck at is just my values, and if I respond to my values only, I'm authentic. Of course, you respond to your values. If in being a waiter and serving other people, and people are yelling at me, and I feel that is disrespectful to me, and I still know the profession, the client is always right.
Does not allow me,
And okay, no matter what, I will always serve them properly. I will not say a word. Then it is not authentic, because my self-respect I'm feeling all the time is being harmed there. So that's not authentic either. So in that response, I respond to my values, what is important for me, what is my own dignity, what is my own self-respect, what I want to do, not just responding to what others expect me to do. Yet we don't leave the others on the curb that we don't matter. No, they are. I'm not an adventurer. I am an authentic person. So I keep them into account, and I keep responding to them. I keep responding to that situation. I keep responding to a world of professionalism, already set values, already set expectations, and what is important to me. And after responding, I get back something. And then I reflect on it again.
It's a never changing movement.
Exactly.
It's a constant, continuous shifting. Authenticity. That's why we're saying that authenticity is not the byproduct. It's not the end product. It's not the product at all. It's a manner. It's a way of being.
You can't capture it.
No.
It's not like authentic Thai food, authentic Indian food.
Oh my God.
It's not like that you can somehow capture the aroma and the flavor of being an authentic person in a box and just sprinkle it on myself and now, voila, I'm authentic. Sadly, that's not how authenticity works. Sadly not.
And so bringing a concept from Charles Taylor here, he's really when he talks about authenticity, and I think he's a Canadian philosopher, and I guess it's very meaningful. And when I'm saying that formula, it gives you a sense of what are the factors that are involved in authenticity. I mean, he's building on the very fertile land of existentialism.
Yeah.
So it's not existential. It's a, but it gives you a kind of a gives you a kind of a guideline that
more
what
accessible.
Does it mean?
More
what does it
accessible
mean to me if I
yeah.
want to act authentically? What are the elements of this behavior or attitude? And he talks about an authenticity or an authentic action is an action that involves creativity, construction, and discovery. You know, all of those elements of passion, adventure, it is there, but it's constructive.
Yeah.
And when we are talking about construction does not happen in void. Construction happens on a land that is already been prepared.
And you construct with something.
Exactly.
That is already there.
It's a prepared land.
Yeah, it's not the idea that God created the world from nothing. But, we built from something.
That's true.
And that something is already there.
So when we're saying that it's already there, means that we're responding something. You cannot construct something on a land that is, for example, you want to construct a cement structure, and you are constructing on a on a runny or a not solid land.
Yes,
you cannot.
Exactly.
You cannot build a solid cement structure on a shore.
Yeah.
Why? Because shore constantly is moving. It's not solid. It's not constant. It will not give you enough coherence.
Yeah.
So you are constructing something in response to something that is already there.
Exactly.
So there is a response again. And in that foundation, that prepared land is a context that I am building something on it.
Yes.
So you cannot act as an individual, isolated self and then become authentic, because you are going to, your discovery is a discovery of a self. You need to discover what else.
Yeah.
That openness that we talked about in World Philosophy Day, that openness, it should be constant, that I'm looking for something else.
You bring something, you try to experiment when you don't know something, you bring something, but once you don't stay rigidly connected. Like, for example, when I go to art teaching, I have taught at 2 universities, and when I moved from one university to another, I brought the same teaching style. And my first response, because I wasn't getting the response I got in the past, and mine was, these students are not good enough. Because, it's hard to be critical. There's something wrong with me.
Yeah.
And then I thought, it's not about what I want to teach. Teaching is all about what they need. And where they are at, what they understand. And then I learned to actually change my teaching style based on their needs, my expectations, based on how busy these students are, what are their other fields. And, so of course I started with what I already knew, but I didn't stick to it.
Exactly.
I took some from it. I still use some of the content that I used. However, my style has totally changed because I'm with different people.
Because you're responding to demand.
I cannot teach them the way I teach other students, and it's not about comparing them. It's about their different needs.
And it's really interesting. That's why Tala talks about the horizon of significance. There is a horizon of significance, and every situation has a horizon of significance.
Yeah.
What does it mean? It means that there are some values already there. There are some demands already been given, already existing.
Yeah.
There are some
that
stuff
that is such an important thing to remember, that you are not creating in a vacuum.
True. So it's that horizon of significance. Even if I want to be, when you see people trying to be authentic self and they're just swim against the flow, it's not only swimming against the flow. Yeah, it's okay if sometimes you need to swim against the flow, but that's not the case.
Yeah.
All the time.
Yeah.
Swimming against the flow doesn't mean authenticity.
That's so
sometimes
important.
You should swim against the flow. Sometimes actually you need to respond positively to the flow.
Yeah.
So it's this awareness that if I want to be authentic, I need to recognize my horizon of significance.
Yeah.
And I need to put this is Charles Taylor position that you constantly need to put yourself in a posture. What is my posture in the very given moment? In that posture taking, do I need to swim against the flow? Or actually with the flow? So it's that position taking that you become who you are. And this means that you need to understand the horizon of significance and how you are related to that horizon of significance.
And I think, at that point I was just thinking about that it's the choice about how to swim with the flow or against the flow comes from what I want to do, like what I want to achieve.
Exactly.
What's the point of all this action? And I was just thinking about, there was this trend of movies in India, Indian cinema, which came, I think, maybe some 10-15 years ago. Maybe they're still having those kind of movies. Very, very interesting, with a very strong female lead. Very fun movies to watch. Couple of those ones were really good. Small cities. So like instead of moving, because a lot of movies were set in the bigger cities, so there was this trend where they moved to very small cities, and very strong female leads who are not happy with the cultural values, and it's done in a very comic, very fun way, and it's really fun to watch. So I was just reading an article on them, and what the article brought out, that they are really a good starting point. However, it's hard to see what these women want apart from just going against the flow. They are just not happy with the marriage market, the way things are. So they are just rebelling for the sake of rebellion. They have no other passion. So they have, so they want to break free. So it is around a love story. So they want a proper partner, but they don't want to go through the proper channel the way the society wants them to. And then there's a man who understands it. So it's always an interesting mix of all of those things. However, none of them have any reason or any passion to why they are so much against this. Why they are so much against the tradition, because in the end they end up marrying the guy who understands them, great. However, beyond that, there's nothing else going on with them. And that's where I feel that it can be a case with many people, especially when you are younger, because, that's how you express yourself. Young kids, they, we have teenagers. So we know how it is really a way of just becoming aware of yourself, is to reject whatever the previous generation is saying. My son says that, WhatsApp is for so millennials. He uses Discord. So so whatever platform we use, it is kind of obsolete for them. So in that way, it's awakening of your consciousness and identity. That's understandable. However, as an adult, if you are just rebelling against whatever is there, you're not authentic. You are just wanting to be instead of the waiter, you are the rebel. I want to be the rebel, and I want to be unique. I mean, I remember in me that thing that I wanted to do everything that others were not doing. So just a way to stand out.
Reading the books that it's not trend.
Exactly. Or clothes. Or whatever, just I don't want to be part of the mass or the mob. And that's a starting point. However, at this stage, I question, why don't I want to be a part of this mob? And by mob, I don't mean the way we use it in the Aboriginal sense, but rather like a group of people without a brain. So the question is that, okay, why do I want to distinguish myself from a certain group? What are the values? What are the reasons? And sometimes I find there's no reason apart from my judgment. And then I started finding a way to get back to that group. Or I would say that even in that group, there are gradients. There are people who are on an extreme that I don't want to go, but there are people who are doing some things in moderation. And I can take the example of beauty, because as a young person, I felt like if you are into beauty, you are kind of sold your soul to patriarchy.
Yeah.
So I would buy bulky shoes that look very masculine, clothes, and then as a grown-up person, I feel that was also buying into patriarchy, because being a man is more respectful.
Exactly.
So as a grown-up person, I found a way to claim femininity. Yes, there's a femininity which is...
But it's my version.
Yeah, and I took things like, I know sometimes I talk to teenagers about makeup, because I didn't do makeup when I was young, and now as a mature person I don't understand it, but I do want to dabble into it, because it can be played within a fun way. However, I find the fear and terror of 10-year-olds spending their time on a makeup counter and just fully being obsessed with that. So I see all of that, and if someone doesn't want to do makeup, that's equally fine. At this stage, if I want to do something because I find it fun, it's a way of expressing myself and also belonging to that community, but also acknowledging that whenever I pay a single dollar, I'm also paying into that industry.
Yeah.
And so, is there some insecurity within me that as I'm growing older, am I feeling that I'm less, likable, lookable? Is likability an important asset for me? So I'm
and constantly you are keeping that in mind.
Exactly. I'm never able to answer this.
Exactly. I guess I just wanted to give the example of The Good Place. Chidi.
Oh.
Why he ended up in
I love
why he ended up in that place? Because
anyone who hasn't watched Good Place, please stop listening to this part. It will spoil.
I don't watch it. I guess, actually, sometimes I feel myself I'm very close to that, because and the moment that I'm thinking about, because I'm trying to figure out all the possible consequences of my action.
Yes.
The whole idea is not responding to all the possibilities of the consequences, but take them into account.
Yeah.
And knowing that you cannot really clarify all the outcomes, all the outcomes that might not be in your intention.
Yeah.
I guess it's all about take that into account, that there are some consequences that were not my intention.
Yeah.
But I am responsible for them.
Yeah. And sometimes I know about some consequences, however, it would be impossible to make a choice which is so sanitized that it does not have any bad consequences. And most of our, choices are messy.
Yeah.
So you weigh and you decide where to go, and authenticity is acknowledging, not underplaying.
Yeah.
Not saying that, 10 people died, and that's not that important, because authenticity is weighing, making decision, knowing, and then weighing again once you come back with the consequences, that was it a good choice. I cannot do much about what happened in the past, but being responsible means that I acknowledge and weigh it, and then the next choice should be with that acknowledgement.
I think it's just partly being authentic means claiming the consequences that you knew exactly that would be your consequences. Owning the consequences that you would assume that it might be.
Yeah.
And owning even for those consequences that you would never imagine that would be the consequence. So it's about, I guess, Semima, I'm thinking about authenticity is dealing with the uncertainty.
I think that's
if
really...
If you want to be authentic, means that you need to take into account the uncertainty. When I'm teaching about, I think it was utilitarianism, that we were talking about one of the problems with the utilitarianism, one of the critiques is up to because consequence is not one.
Exactly.
It's a chain of consequences.
Yeah, how can you?
And how can you say that it's the best consequence for the greatest number of people?
Yeah.
First of all, greatest number of people of what shape,
Exactly.
what age, what
Who are
characteristics,
we talking about? Yeah.
Exactly. And then up to when in that chain of consequences are you?
It never
with?
ends giving. Anything.
Exactly.
Any action you take, it just creates a new chain of events.
New chain of events, new
Yeah.
chain of consequences, and when we were talking about this, I guess you need to own really.
Mm-hmm.
This is the chain of consequences that I am
Yeah.
creating, and I own it.
Yeah.
And
I have no
I'm
control.
Happy. Exactly, and I'm happy with it. If it comes with a terrible mistake, I own the mistake.
Mm-hmm.
I need to think about how come that thing was never on my radar.
Mm-hmm.
And in the next move, I add that into the horizon of the significance
Yes.
of the consequences.
Yes.
That thing should be actually
Yeah.
the horizon of significance for me.
Yeah. And I think that's very important for therapy.
Yeah.
As I was thinking about, for example, if we are sitting with two people and, a daughter says that, how my mother and her upbringing has harmed me, how they have held me back. That's one of the most important thing that comes up, how things have, or even all relationship I had a client recently and they were talking about, how, things are between them and their partner, the challenges and all of those things. And what I was thinking is that, if as an authentic person, someone comes to me and tells me how my words, my actions, or my role as a therapist has harmed them, what would I do with that information? It's a difficult place to be, and we had that situation, especially as a young person. We did things, and sometimes a lot of people told me as a grown-up that, you kind of bullied me to some extent, because we didn't realize that making certain jokes is bullying, and now we have, and first thing was that I felt like they're too sensitive, because it harms the sense of myself that I'm not a bully. However, later on, I still feel sometimes that I want to justify it, that everyone was doing it, I didn't know that. However, the true authenticity is basically acknowledging that, okay, my actions did that damage, that was not the intention. And I mean, whenever I try to say, however, I didn't know anything better, all of that is deflection.
Exactly, that's an excuses,
So I am coming from that background, so that's given. I saw everyone making fun of everyone else. I was young. All of those things are there. The bigger question is, as a mature, older person, what do I do with that? I cannot. I mean, I've said sorry to that person. Tried to say that was not my intention, and I'm sorry about how it caused you pain, and now just being aware that I don't do this to another person.
And Saima, I guess one of the very important factors here in therapy again is this does not mean that the self is problematic. It's very important here. I think when I was intending an action and when I was doing thing, the incorrect part wasn't me as I'm a bad self. This is the bad self that done the bullying or felt as bullied. It's about calculation. It was a miscalculation of me that I assumed that because everybody does that, this does not mean bullying.
Yeah, it's okay.
So I'm not a bad person. I think this is where we all feel that.
That's a very good point.
No, I don't like to own it.
Because it makes me a bully.
That's not the case.
Which is something I can't identify with. Yeah.
I did a bad calculation.
Yeah.
My calculation were problematic, not me.
Yeah.
When I was taking into account different factors, I gave a little weight because it was common.
Yeah.
because it was a common fact.
And I was going with the flow.
With the flow.
And without reflection. And having enough.
So my reflection was problematic, not me.
Yeah. And it's again like the situations we talked about, you know, the environment in which I grew, everyone made fun of everyone. When you are 13, 14, you are generally very stupid.
Yeah. No, because you don't reflect.
And you want to fit in. Exactly. You want to fit in. You don't want to be the odd one out. You want to be liked. All of those things were playing a role. And in those situations, you made a choice. And the reflections were lacking. As a grown-up person, you keep on adding to that reflection. You keep on looking into what are the possible consequences of the words I utter, or once you have uttered them, you listen back to them, and if something has happened, you try to rectify it as soon as possible. So that's what authenticity is, just making this kind of a very informed decision in each and every moment in terms of your speech, your action, your movements, or what you don't do, where you don't act, by identifying my values, my core values, what's important to me, what's others need around me, and what's the environment, and what is the world I'm responding to. And then once that action is out there,
owning the consequences.
I stay with it and
owning the consequences.
And don't leave it there as if it's all packed up. It comes back to me because it created another situation, because that's what we do. If we mess up with our kid, owning doesn't mean that I keep doing the same thing. Saying sorry is also not enough. It's about, that's the first step. Then how do I rectify it?
Because it gives you, again, it creates another situation, and again you're responding to the next situation. It's a constant change of and modification of the situation. Authenticity means I need to be aware of this shifting, a constant shifting, and I shift with it. Shift my attention, shift my reflection. It's a constant giving back to the situation and getting it, and reflect on it. So it's just
a
deal. It's a constant movement. It's a constant deal with the situation.
Becoming, you are unfolding yourself with each and every movement. I want to come back to a point that we started in the beginning. And since we are talking about authenticity, it seemed like it's all about the other person. However, in general understanding, authenticity is all about me. So do you want to talk a little bit about, what is authenticity in relation to myself, who I am?
In that constant reflection, you become who you are, because you are changing constantly how to respond. I become who you are with my responses. I'm not something out there, and I'm becoming closer to my inner, to my already given. I think this is, at this point, we're not very Aristotelian.
No,
because there is not an at least as a phenomenologist, as an existential philosopher, they don't think that we have given a sense of a real self, and then in your actions you're revealing that self. There's
nothing hidden already.
Exactly.
You don't come in this world to kind of find yourself, something that you came with. No, you come in this world. Of course.
With some givenness,
and some kind of situation, and the self is shaped in these interactions. That's not a fake self. That's a real self.
That's a real self.
And that self keeps developing. And authenticity also means that, in all moments, that whatever is the self at this moment, I am keeping that into account. So it doesn't mean that I just silence everything within me. So what I want, what is my true self here, which is basically my affects, my emotions, my desires. They have a huge role here, but one thing is that they are not coming out of nowhere. Whatever I am is basically input and then reflection and then some kind of process, and then giving back, then coming back. This whole process is developing myself, so that is there. However, that is myself. And in any authentic moment, whatever that self is, it has to be kept into account. It cannot be left behind. So as we discussed that, in the moments of being a mother, being a teacher, I listen to your demand, I listen to your need as a friend, however, if I'm just listening to your need and what I want is always silenced, that's not authentic. That's people pleasing. That is again a problematic attitude. But if I'm just all about me and not listening to your demand, then I'm also narcissistic. I am self-obsessed. I have no understanding of what the other person needs.
So that is finding a way in between. It's an in between of that's why I'm saying that it's a dialectical behavior, because it's a finding something. It is not given, prescribed, which is not my desire wholly. It's not my profession's demand only. It is not the clients or the other, the world around me only. It's something that comes out of all three. It's a response to all of these factors that I am trying to respond to. And yes, taking into account that my response might affect the person that I didn't take it into account as a demander,
So, or having any role in this process.
And in this dialectical process, I become who you are now. I become the responder. In every moment, if I have a shot of that moment, this is me while I'm responding. I'm a responder of that moment. And this is who I am. And I cannot, say, tomorrow I will be whom, because I don't know what will come.
Exactly. And
what kind of situation I'm going to respond to tomorrow.
And that's why we do not like the idea of having a description of personality types or, saying that this is your character.
Or personality. Or
as we I recorded a session, you remember, with some of my colleagues, and it was the prisoner dilemma. How would you respond to people around you in a bad situation? And in the end, the person who was running that scenario asked me that, do you think people reveal themselves in really bad situation? People say you are your true self when you are hungry or when you are
in hardship.
And it's not the case. In hardships, in hunger, in anger, in pressure, I am responding to the circumstances, and maybe certain pressures actually bring out certain responses from me.
Exactly.
It's not about that this true self is somewhere hiding really quietly in houses when the moment is right. There is no true self. In each and every moment we make a choice.
And all of them are true.
We revert to certain patterns because they're convenient, they're easy to navigate.
And I guess because we are living very similar situations.
We're
not putting ourselves out of every day. We are not experiencing some radically different situation.
It's a very similar world. And I mean, I get clients, they're in a very similar kind of situation, and I respond in a very similar way. There are some variations based on their individual needs, but then I get a client who is totally different, and I'm for a while lost. Because I lost my tools, because I know how to deal with it.
I need to navigate this.
Then but what you don't do is you don't try to apply the old formula, because you are attentive that this is the focus. This person is the focus. And I dig deeper, and my value is that I don't let my client go, treated like, they are not important. So I dig deeper, I figure out a way, I try different styles, and then I respond to them. It's not that with this client, my true, people say that it will show that I'm an imposter. That's the fear. No, it's a different client, and responding to them required a little more effort, digging a little bit deeper. So authenticity is not about reaching a state. It's about basically a constant responding with keeping in mind my values, my desires, what the world wants from me, and what the other is demanding from me, and then continuously doing that until we die.
I mean, and that's it. And I think I would like to finish this session by giving what Heidegger talks about and suggests about authenticity. And it's interesting because he says authenticity really comes at the very end, on your deathbed. When you're finished, when the project is finishing, is closing up, if you see that there was a thread, there was a meaningful connection between all of the things that you have done, all of the choices that you have made, situations that you have created, events that you have created, events that actually unfolded within you and you created them. If you can find a thread that is all connected, you can see a pattern. Now I understand that. It is not scattered everywhere. It's not zigzag. It has a shape. It gives you a sense of connection. You lived authentically. This is what Heidegger says. And it seems that you would never know that whether I have lived authentically or not.
No, and there's no measure, there's no way.
No.
You make choices, trying to be authentic, and that's the best you can do.
Exactly.
And there's no way of saying more authentic or less authentic.
If I wear this one, I become more authentic. If I eat this thing, I'm gonna become authentic. No, that's not easy. Unfortunately, it's not easy.
Yeah, it is the question of our existence.
True.
Authenticity is hard to achieve, and the only way to be authentic is to sit in doubt.
Yeah. Otherwise you have a bad faith.
Yeah.
That's the thing. If you want to have a good faith, just dealing with the question of, I would never know that I'm doing authentically.
Yeah.
Am I living authentically? How authentic my decision makings are, and deal with this not knowing.
Yeah, and not knowing and being in doubt, yet not staying away from action, because inaction is also acting.
Exactly.
So you actually just throw yourself out there, own the responsibility, the mess you make, and then try to do better next time. And by saying that, it's not owning with the I don't care attitude, but rather with deep care. With deep levels of care.
Deep level of care.
And being okay, living in that discomfort, and just constantly renewing that discomfort is authenticity.
It's all about dealing with the discomfort, I guess.
Yeah.
Seema, thank you so much. It was
Thanks
great.
a lot.
And I'm hoping that our listeners enjoyed it as well.
Yeah.
And hopefully we're gonna get back to them for the 21st episode in next month.
Yeah.
Looking forward to hearing from you. Have a lovely afternoon. Bye.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.